Well, hello, and I hope everybody is having a great day so far. My name is Don Terrell, and I want to welcome you to another great episode of The Color of Motion, where I like to say, stories come in all shades. And I highlight people of color and diverse backgrounds in the industry of motion graphics, animation, visual effects, cartoons, and comics. And I have to say, today you're in for a treat because this is the first for me. Two guests. You're getting two for the price of one. So I appreciate everybody tuning in for sure. And so excited. Been looking forward for this interview for a while. And so looking forward to sitting down talking with my next guest for sure. But before we do, I want to make sure that you join our new community, facebook.com/groups/ the color of motion. Come be a part of the community. We're going to be sharing industry news, having engaging conversations, and just all around fun. And just as a notice, beginning of August, the show will be broadcast from that page as opposed to my personal page. So I want to make sure that you're connected and engaged in a group. So if you do happen to be one of those ones that tune in from Facebook, you won't think we just fell off the face of the earth. We're over in the group now, so you can come on over there and join us. So I appreciate that. Again, if you are tuning in, which you can catch us at LinkedIn as well. But if you are tuning in from LinkedIn or Facebook, I always highly encourage people to jump on over to my YouTube channel, connect with me over there, give a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so that you're notified of when great new content becomes available. You can also connect with me and follow me on all my other social channels. I'm getting good at pointing in the right direction now. So you can always connect with me on all my other social channels as well. Another new thing is we're starting to work at getting sponsors for the show and really that will help us level up the show, you know. And definitely the ones that, help us level it up, we want to give them a shout out. So we will be doing shout outs to all the people and companies that help us continue to level up the show. So your name could be there. So we created a tip jar where if you are so inclined, you can, donate a few dollars here and there. Every little bit helps for sure. You can find it at Cash App, Don Terrell 65. You can also scan the barcode here, the QR code here, and that will take you to it as well. I'll be throwing these up again at the end of the show, but just wanted to make sure that you are aware of that and all the great new things that we got planned for the show. Like I said, the community that we started, the new website will be up in a couple of weeks where you can check out guest bios. We may even be doing some live streaming from there as well. Also, we're going to be implementing a lot of swag items on the show. So we're going to be giving all our guests a swag bag with some cool color emotion swag items, but we'll be doing gift giveaways, contests, and things like that. So that's another new thing that I'm really looking forward to implementing with the show. Of course, Instagram channel. It'll be coming up in a couple of weeks as well. So we got a lot of great new things planned. So I definitely want to make sure that you join us. You know, my goal is to bring a wow factor for you. So always looking forward to that. I'm ready to dive in. You know, like I said, I've been super excited. This is a first for me having two guests on, so this should be interesting. But really forward to diving into their story, having them tell us about their company, the project that they worked on. Super excited to share that with you, and just really excited about sitting down and diving into it with them. So, without further ado, we are going to jump in. My first guest, she's a French American born and raised uh, in Miami, Florida. Her love for storytelling and animation began as a kid, born in the 90s. I feel old. I really feel old. So, born in the 90s. She grew up watching American cartoons and animes, Japanese cartoons, and seeing the various art styles and stories flowing out and from these culturally different studios onto her television screen was and continues to be an awesome experience. It's because of this and her love for storytelling that she decided to pursue a bachelor's of arts in English and creative writing at the University of Miami in 2015 and earned her master's of fine arts in film in 2019 at the same institution. As a result of her portfolio, she was given the opportunity to teach screenwriting at Miami Dade College and at the University of Miami in 2019. After her applying for entry level production management positions at animation studios, and her longtime goal is to become an executive producer slash creator of an animated television series, which they already created an animated short, which we're going to dive into. So, on the side, she enjoys writing whimsical universes in comic strip format, studying Japanese, and screaming at the top of her lungs at K-pop concerts. And my next guest, creativity has always been a constant muted myself. Sorry. Always been a constant preoccupation for her. Born and raised also in Miami, Florida, of course. They're sisters. She received her Associate of Applied degree in art and art education from Miami Dade College. From there, she transferred to the University of Miami and received her bachelor's degree in fine art with a minor in art history and graphic design. After receiving her master's degree in painting, printmaking, and digital media from the University of Miami Art Department, she joined the faculty as a studio instructor of 2D and digital art courses. She also teaches cinema and art appreciation at Miami Dade College. She's received numerous art awards and has had her work featured in galleries such as the Wynwood Building, Low Art Museum, the Smithsonian, and Art Basel. She also contributes her skills as an illustrator, concept artist, and production designer for Duo Tales Studio, while tabling at animation conventions along with her sister. They sell vinyl stickers based on the projects produced under their studio name. Everybody, please help me welcome these very talented sisters, Miss Chantal Gabriel and her sister Danielle. Gabriel. We appreciate you so much for being on the show. Man, I'm
Wow.
just
Yeah.
so.
Wow, so fancy. We get a little cheer.
Well,
Right?
hey, I go all out. We go all out for our guests. I tell you, and like I said, I am just so super geek. Like I said, you ladies are a first for me. Two guests can, hey guys, sandwich between two beautiful women. You can't beat that. I tell you. So just such one, I appreciate you so much for being on the show and a part of the Color of Motion family, and so looking forward to diving deeper into your stories.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. We're excited to be here. It's been a long time coming. I remember we talked a few months ago about scheduling this, so now that we're finally here, it's awesome. So thanks so
Yes,
much for having us.
yes, yes. It has. Danielle, I appreciate you being on as well.
Thank you for having me as on, and I'm looking forward to our conversations.
Definitely, definitely. And we're gonna dive right into it.
Cool.
I'm curious. What was your vision for your life growing up? I mean, did you envision yourselves doing what you're doing now, or did you have something else in mind for kind of where you were gonna go and what you were gonna do?
Uh,
And I
could I go
digress.
first?
Yes,
I guess so.
Danielle, if you want to, or Chantel, I'll go. I'll go to the right. Chantel, you could go first if you
All
want.
right. Yeah, sure. So I've always like, as you mentioned in my bio, I've always loved storytelling. I've always just really connected to that. But I've also always loved expressing myself through like the written form, whether that's through like writing lyrics, poetry, uh, or just even like stories, like just fiction, right? So I knew I always loved that, but I didn't know that, I could do that for a living. And so, I've always obsessed since I was a kid of like, what am I gonna do with my life? Because when you're like in high school, they tell you like, oh, like, what do you want to do? And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to survive puberty right now. Like, I'm like, I'm like, I don't know. So I really thought a lot about it, but then so it wasn't until like I saw Avatar: The Last Airbender where I saw these creators where they were most definitely influenced by anime. And so I saw like, wait, this is an American show, but that's totally anime influence. What's going
Yeah.
on here? And so like that was the first time where I really saw something where, hey, I can take this thing I like called anime that I love and my love for storytelling and do like my own thing, which is why I want to eventually like, create my own animated series. But yeah, so that was like kind of like the seed, where I was like, I could do something with this and it'll be really cool. So then that's when I got to college and then I was like, okay, I really love storytelling. And so I got my bachelor's in English with a focus in creative writing. And during that time, I wrote a short story and it placed second in the state competition. And then I was also the fiction editor and co-editor in chief of my university's literary journal called Mangrove. And then from there, I was like, hey, I really want to like focus on filmmaking. So that's what made me decide to get my master's in film. And when I was a film student, I was like, hey, Danny, let's do a project.
Pull your
So then,
sister in. Sure, super.
Yep, I
yeah,
got I got lured in.
yeah, I lured her in. I was like, let's do this. And so as a result, we ended up making two live action shorts and one animation short. And the animation short did really well. It won the best technical achievement at the Miami Film Festival in 2019. And as a result of that, it got mentioned in a Variety News article. So that was a really cool thing.
Awesome,
So
Woo.
awesome. And we're gonna dive more into that. Danny, what about you? I mean, was your I mean, like you said by you were always kind of, creatively,
Mhm.
you know, inclined, but was this your end goal of where you kind of thought you would end up, or did you have kind of something else planned that you might have wanted to do, or?
Right. Well, let's see. I mean, I knew I always wanted to be part of the art world. I just didn't know which part of art I wanted to be in. As a kid, I always liked copying cartoons like from Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, Pokemon, and I practiced through there through watching the shows I liked on Toonami. And then
Tsunami, yeah.
and then so that's what I spent my time doing. And then I just kept drawing and drawing, and I knew I wanted to be in art, but I didn't know what. So now I teach art, but let me tell you, I didn't see myself being an art instructor because I had such terrible stage fright. I was very shy and nervous in front of people. So I was surprised that I ended up where I ended up. So I enjoy teaching others how to draw, and I get to share my love for art too. So I'm pretty much just an art geek, and I like everything that's art related. It's a
Yeah,
bunch of stuff.
we can tell by the shirt behind you there. Let me get that up again. This spirited away.
Right, yep, right there.
It's a great film.
It is.
I want that blanket. It's so cute.
I
Like,
highly agree. It is a great
Yeah.
film, and Hayao Miyazaki
Mhm,
is the
mhm.
kind of god in Japanese anime.
Yeah.
But I'm curious for both of you. How did your parents kind of encourage and foster, your passions as you were growing up?
you can go first, Danny.
Yeah,
I go first?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
All
sure.
right.
Yeah, because I think we should talk about like I don't
Mhm.
know if like Donnie, if you know, but like Danny's actually like hearing impaired.
Yeah,
So
I do.
I
And I
feel
was going to
like
say that. And I was going to mention it. That was kind of one of my questions. I didn't want to kind of say it,
It's
right off the
okay.
bat. But just to let everybody know, Danny is hearing impaired. And so that was
Yeah.
going to kind of be a little question further
Mhm,
down about, just
mhm.
how did that, well, I can
Yeah.
ask it now.
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, did that present any challenges for you while y'all were, well, one, as you were kind of coming up
Yeah.
and getting into the art field and art industry, and then
Mhm.
two, did it present any unique challenges while you were and your sister were working on the chase, your
Okay.
animation short?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. All right, so while growing up, yes, it was a challenge because I wasn't let's first start way back when the my disability wasn't discovered yet. The problem is I wasn't talking like a normal 5-year-old. So I was taken to the audiologist, and lo and behold, I have moderate severe hearing loss in both ears. I'm the only one in the family born with it, so no one in the family really knew what I was going through. But my mom always encouraged our mom always encouraged us to encourage me to draw, to express myself, and share my ideas, and because I was able to express that freely. And I was always in school, I was very awkward. I would say a lot of the time when I communicate with people, it's always awkward for me because I'm always trying to guess what the other person is saying, and I
Mhm.
do a lot of lip reading, and
Mm.
so I always had art as a way to I guess um, to communicate what I'm feeling, share my ideas with my classmates at the time, and it was a way to make friends too. So it actually helped bring me closer to people, but in a different way, not through words, more through images, and also for my fandom for the anime geek stuff. And then but yeah, a lot of the time it's just a lot of trying to. I'm always trying to guess what the other person's saying so I can sound normal in a conversation because in when I was going through speech therapy, I took speech therapy for 15 years. So a lot of the time they were training me to have one-on-one conversations with my speech therapist, which she would show me how to enunciate, pronounce the words and letters correctly. But it's kind of hard in real life when it's
Yeah.
in a not in a controlled setting with a room full of people or much bigger space because the noise, the sound echoes, so it's not as clear for me. So it did, yeah, indeed, for me, it caused a lot of tension and the fact that I couldn't communicate like a normal person. but it didn't cause any problem while we were making the chase.
Okay. Okay.
Right? And in fact, I mean, funny thing is that Chantal back then was copying how how I spoke. So
I
she
did.
understood. She did. So she was copying me, and they thought she had the hearing problem too, but she's fine. She's fine. Um, so she understood what I was saying. So she would help me out and talk to other people for me if I was struggling.
Yeah.
So she always had my back, and
Well, I'm
there's other
curious.
people who
Which of the
support me.
two of you are? Which is the eldest of the two? You or okay?
Me.
Well, which brings me to an interesting point. You seem to both have a great relationship. How do you feel like being sisters has kind of helped you with the projects that you've worked together on?
So I think the biggest thing is that, well, because we're pretty, like, we're only like 2.5 years apart,
Okay.
and we both share very similar interests. Like, we were both obsessed with like Pokemon and like Sailor Moon. So, except for what worked
Yeah.
out great was that she, loves to draw and I love to write. So, like, we just combine forces and, we can create some like cool stories, I think. So then, as a result of us having like that shared interest in anime and also just we share similar values and ideas, I think that's really helped like foster this creativity and desire to create, whether that's in short films or like graphic novels.
Got you. Well, and to that point, Chantel, and Danny, you can, you obviously have a passion for anime as well. What was it
Yes.
about the art form that really grabbed you?
Like an animation?
Anime,
Like anime? An
anime,
anime.
and manga.
Oh, let me see. There's so many things. Okay, first is their eyes. I think I was drawn to their eyes. I was like, oh, they're so like, especially in Sailor Moon, their eyes were so big and sparkly and magical. I was drawn to it. So I just liked the style. I liked anime and manga before I knew what anime and manga was. I just liked the cartoon style.
Yeah.
So so it was the eye, then the crazy hair colors. Of course, now we have crazy hair colors. We call
Chantel
it
is.
which is really weird hairstyle. I love the crazy personalities and also the story. But for me, a lot is the characters that I was really drawn to in these interesting circumstances.
What about you, Chantel?
Yeah, for me it was like the art style was just so like unique because like I also loved watching shows like Hey Arnold and like Cat Dog. So when you had shows like that on, and all of a sudden you had like coming up next was like, I don't know, like Yu Yu Hakusho, for example, or like Sailor Moon, like what Danny was talking about. It's just like I didn't know what I was watching was called like anime, but like just looking at the kind of stories that are coming out from like the American studios, and then the plot lines are coming out from like Japan, it was very unique and very different. And I just, I didn't know, but I knew there was something different and really special about it. But I was just really drawn to like how the characters look like. It's like kind of like what Danny was saying, like their eyes are big, they got this like cool, crazy hair colors, and the fighting sequences are just like really cool and like inspiring. I mean, like who has not like wanted to like throw like a Pokemon ball? Like, I mean, all I wanted to be was a Pokemon master when I was a kid. Like, I had all the Pokemon plushies, and I think I didn't know at the time, but I was like doing like my own like OC character where I was like, okay, I'm gonna this with my outfit when I go out to be like a little Pokemon master. Like, I mean, it was just so inspiring, just in their character design and the stories that were coming out.
Gotcha. Oh man, to tell you. Um, I'm curious. Uh, what was your idea? Who came up with the idea for the chase? Was it the drawing first, or did you, Chantel? Did you have the idea for the story and then approach your sister for the artwork? And kind of what was your origin for it?
So actually, it originated from a class assignment we had to do,
Okay.
and the the objective was like, oh, it had to be like stop motion. So a lot of people were like, oh, let's just use like figurines or whatever. And Danielle was like, how about we just make like a little animation, like 2D? And I was like,
It was
dude,
my fault.
like, do we have that kind of time to do that? Like, do we have time to do that? Like, and so she was like, yeah, we got this. Let's do it. I'm like, okay, fine. So once we established, okay, we're gonna create everything from like scratch and like really make something like original, then I was like, okay, let's get down to business. I'm sorry, it just came to my head. So then it started with like, I mean, sometimes my ideas come whether like I decide to sketch something out or it's through listening to music or anything like that. So in this case, what happened was that I knew I wanted to show a story that had like these hybrid looking like characters, because the protagonist is like a little wolf boy, and then the second character is a sheep girl. And so I sketched them out and I was like, hey Danny, like, what do you think about this? And then she vibed with that. I was like, okay, cool. And then
cute.
thank you. So then from there, once we're like, okay, cool, once I was like, okay, I like these characters, I'm vibing with this, I think we can have something really nice here. That's when I started to like storyboard the story, because first I did an outline of it. And then I was like, okay, now let me storyboard it. And once I finished the storyboards, I shared it with Danny and I was like, hey, what do you think about this? And she was like, she gave me feedback on it. And then once we finalized the storyboards, that's when Danny turned it into digital.
Yeah. And such great artwork. And I'm throwing some of it up here as well. I love the style. I love this simplicity of it. But before we dive more into it, let's take a little look at it.
Oh, cool. Thanks so much for sharing that. I didn't expect you to do that. Thanks for doing that.
Oh, we gotta show it. And like I said, as I was doing my research, they didn't send me this. They didn't send me the video, so I went ahead.
I sent you the
links, which is where I got it. Like I said, I got it from that. But no, such a great story. What I guess. Writing it, Chantal, what was the theme of what you hope people would get out of it, or moral to the story? Like I said, you obviously, oops, I hit that by accident. Yes. You obviously, are a screenwriter, so you're about crafting the story, and there's a general theme or moral or something that the viewer is supposed to get out of it. What was your moral for what you wanted people to walk away from when they watched that?
Well, it's only like a little bit like over a minute long. I think it's like a minute and 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So it was really like you said, like I had to focus on like what's the message and like the little theme I want to focus on. And the theme I wanted to focus on was the idea of like not to judge someone, or in this case like a hybrid character, by their appearances, because we are just naturally so visually based.
Yeah.
Like if someone sees me with pink hair, they're gonna have like all these assumptions about me and all that. And so, with the sheep, and it's called Wool Town, they're all sheep. And so when they see a wolf, obviously the first natural instinct is like, oh my God, like danger, we gotta go, we gotta go. And so that's, which is an understandable reaction, because that's what you would expect. But then in the end, you see that he actually brought like a little birthday present for her to celebrate her 16th birthday.
Yeah.
And so it was from there that she learned, like, oh, I was so quick to judge that, I didn't give him a chance to like even introduce himself. I know it's a little kind of strange to think that, because since the natural instinct is like, oh, predator and prey.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's an animation and they look kind of human, so
Well,
I think you
yeah.
can get away with that.
True, true.
And like you said, the theme was don't kind of judge somebody by what you see naturally. Danny, doing the animation, did it present any challenges for you? Just getting the animation, because the animation is in and of itself. A lot of people don't, most people just see the end goal. They don't see the amount of work that really does truly go into most animations. So, were there any type of unique challenges for you doing it?
Yes, there was definitely a challenge because I think this was pretty much my first self-taught animation video that was brought to the table. So it was a lot. The first challenge was trying to do all the movement of the characters within a short amount of time. I can't remember how long we had. How long, Chantal? Do you remember how long we had to
Oh
work
my
to make it?
God. I think it was like a few
Wow.
weeks.
I think a few weeks, like a month or maybe
Yeah.
2 months at most, maybe.
And
I
I
don't know. It's
don't
not
think it was
much.
2 months.
No.
I think it was a month or less.
No.
Yeah, so the challenging was it was the timing, I would say, and to do all the actions, make all the backgrounds, make the characters. So it was just a lot of work. It was just the labor behind it was so long to make. And what I used to make what you saw is Illustrator
Mm-hmm.
and Photoshop,
Okay.
which are not animation
Wow, I
tools.
was going to say you animated it in Photoshop. Wow.
Well, the
Yeah,
thing
but
is,
even it,
like, so yeah, you want to explain, Danny? Yeah, you explain.
yeah, so then I did the part that I just made each image individually, and then I
Yeah.
think Chantal, you put it in Premiere or something like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so once the backgrounds and the characters were finished, I collected those files and I imported them all into Premiere, and like I adjusted the timing for each frame. And ooh, that was an adventure, because remember I dropped the hard drive?
Oh, I
I dropped the
remember.
hard drive. After I finished it, I dropped the hard drive. And I had
Oh
to do it
man.
all over again. And on the day it was due, I had to stay up till like 6 o'clock in the morning because it was due at noon.
Yes, I was
Oh
like,
man.
why?
Like a mess.
Hey, the timelines of when stuff is due, stuff happens. You just got to get it done for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
You picked an interesting choice for the music, and like I said, it fits so well with the story and just the flow of it. Where did the inspiration for the music come from, and who you used? Did you leave it up to them to kind of look at the animation and kind of, okay, well, what kind of music are you kind of feeling when you see this? Or did you have in mind the kind of whimsical style music to go with it?
So like, we were like really inspired by like the European countryside, and we wanted to have like this little whimsical, like you said, like element to it. So I think that was translatable absolutely for like the kind of music that it did need. And so at the time I had like a temp track in it, and I actually reached out to this composer, his name is Javier, and I was like, hey, I've got this animation short, like would you be interested in like working on it? And he was really enthusiastic and really down to do it. So working with the temp track I gave him, but I told him like, like if you want to like deviate from the temp track, like that's totally fine, because I was afraid that the temp track was gonna like inhibit like his creativity or something like that. So I really made sure like you do you. I want to hear like your creativity in this
Interpretation
track.
from it.
Yeah,
Okay.
as long as it sounds whimsical and it has like an orchestral feel like with orchestra and stuff, like I'm good with that. And like he delivered, and I was like, this is great. It
It
goes
is.
so well.
It does.
So yeah, so I mean, in the end, I just had like some minor tweaks. I was like, oh, can you adjust like the engine to have like this kind of like sound instead? Because I did music for like a lot, like a long time. So I was able to talk with him like using words like, oh, is this like a minor? Like, what
Yeah.
key are you in? That kind of thing. So it was really fun working with him, and it was only 3 of us on this project. So
That's pretty really, like I said, impressive because, like I said, it and in the amount of time
thank
that you
you.
put into it, like I said, it was. I really enjoyed it, and such a
Oh.
Oh, thank
very
you.
well done animation. And I know
Oh.
it takes a lot. Does this in? I mean, obviously this and it you got a lot of praise, and it hit the film circuit in Miami. And were you kind of surprised that the response that you did get from it once you started doing the film circuit? You know.
I mean, I was
Um.
surprised. I was
Yeah,
shocked.
yeah, I was definitely surprised because you're so like in it, right? And you see, honestly, like as a creative person, you always tend to look at like the flaws
Yeah.
or what you're
Yes.
like, oh, I wish I did this instead, or like, why did I do that? So at least for me, like I always tend to look at what's not perfect about it, but I'm trying to work on that as a creative person.
Well, I don't think you ever
So
get past. Cause
Yeah, I
like
do
you
too.
said, as a creative person, you're always looking at,
yeah.
it's, at some point it's done, but then you can always look, damn, I could have did this a little bit different, or, you're
Yeah.
always critical. We're always critical.
Mm.
Always
Yeah.
critical.
Yeah.
Um,
But
I'm
the
kid-
biggest thing, I'm sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
All right. So I was gonna like, if Danny, you want to add on to this? I think the biggest surprise was like, it was chosen to like screen in this film festival that was like in at least it's like screened in at least like 30 cities in like Romania too.
Oh yeah,
But
that.
like,
Wow.
yeah, and I was like, wow, okay, cool.
They love it in Romania.
In Romania.
Romania. I was like, all right. I mean, sure, cool. So, but the biggest thing was like getting the Variety like news article mentioned because I didn't even know about it. It was actually like Javier, our composer. I was like, hey, did you see this article? And I was like, what article?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
I was like, what are you talking about? And then he sent in the article, and that's when I saw it. It's like a very brief sentence, but I was like, that is so great.
Wow.
That is so cool. So, yeah, I don't know if Danny, you wanted to add on to that.
No, I mean, I was just, excited and happy and also a little confused because I was like, what?
Well, does this inspire you, obviously, to do more longer form animations and projects? We're going to kind of dive into Dual Tail Studios and just, what you hope to come out of it. But did this really, the fun that you had, the success that you kind of had, did this kind of say, okay, well, let's start thinking about, our next,
There's something there. Yeah, there was something there. It was definitely an inspiration for me, at least.
Yeah, it was definitely an inspiration for me as well. And yeah, we definitely talked about doing like a longer form of animation, but we gotta think about like our resources, and
Yeah.
we're
And
like,
be realistic.
No,
yeah,
no,
mhm.
no.
Yeah. So then that's when we were like, hey, what if we make like a graphic novel instead? Because that was always the original vision. Like the reason, like for years we talked about, let's make a graphic novel, let's make a comic book, let's do it.
Let's do it.
But
do
then like I went into film school, and that's when I was like, never mind, we're doing films first. We changed the game plan. Well, I
Yeah.
did. It was my fault.
Oh man, okay. And to your point, I'm curious because You, Chantel, you do, and I've seen some of your live action. Uh, is for you, is your process different when you're sitting down writing for animation or live action? And do you prefer one over the other, or do they both kind of feed into each other for you?
Um, there's not really like a difference between writing for live action or animation, except for like in terms of like visual description, because you got to give enough description of where the artist knows, like, oh, okay, this is like, for example, if a character gets hit, you have to like emphasize like how that character is gonna like react, right? Because in animation you do, what's it called, like squish and
Squash
what's
and
that?
stretch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that. So like, you got to give enough like visual information to the artist to work with. And then in live action, you can be more brief, and then they'll be like, "Okay, cool, we'll figure it out." So like that's the difference there. But honestly, like as a writer, you're always focusing on like the character development, the which scenes do I need, right? You're always thinking about the story itself because
Yeah.
even if it's for live action or animation, the goal is to write a good story. So in terms of like looking at theme or like, oh, when like what's the inciting incident going to be in this story, like that's pretty consistent. I think the main difference is like, like I said, like inserting enough visual description for the artist, because if you don't give enough, then the artist is kind of like guessing and like having to think even more of like what are we working with here? So I think that's probably like the main difference.
uh, and I'm curious for you, Danny, because you have a background in fine art and graphic design, printmaking. Is there one you prefer over the other? Or does for you as a creative, they all kind of feed each other, and you enjoy printmaking, you enjoy the fine art, and how does it translate into doing animation work for you?
Yeah, that's the thing. I said I'm an art geek and I kind of like all arts and I can't choose which one. And that's why I kind of flip flop everywhere. But I do stay with 2D art. I don't do 3D at all.
Okay.
So, so yeah, I do a lot. At first, I mean, when I went to college and I did fine art, I did portraits, figure art. I drew from life, doing still lives. So in a very realistic manner, not cartoonish at all. And but it does help to it does translate into drawing backgrounds for the characters to be in, even in a cartoon setting, because you do need a horizon line, you need to know scale, overlapping, perspective. You still need to know all the basic stuff that you use in fine arts and apply it to whether you're making an animation or a graphic novel.
Got you. Got you. Uh, Apologize for any little echo that might have heard. I don't know if you can hear it on your end, but
Yeah,
um,
was there an E sound?
yeah, just a little.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I don't
Oh,
know if
you
it's
heard the
on.
E sound. Oh, wow,
Yeah.
because normally you don't hear like high pitched noises, right?
Well, I mean, I thought with my hearing aids.
Oh.
Uh-oh, awkward.
Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
when you like squeeze your hearing aid, like it's a kind of
Uh,
Yeah,
noise,
I
right?
mean, that's what my headphones is doing. My headphone's doing it right now, so I thought it was going, I don't know, loud enough that my mic was picking it up, so I'm a little lost
Oh,
right now.
huh.
oh, okay,
That
okay.
might be why. So, but that's okay. Uh, we're talking about Dual Tail Studios. What what are you hoping to? I mean, well, let me back up. First, do you find it challenging or any type of setbacks? You being women in the industry, have you found it challenging for you in dual dual tails studio being a kind of woman based studio?
We honestly haven't had like any like sexist things happen like
Yeah.
to us, except for like
Mhm.
I would say probably when I was writing like my first script, because that the first film we made under Dual Tail Studio was called Cherry, and it was a coming of age story about a little girl who had to learn to like let go of her childhood pleasures, which is like an imaginary friend. And so there was a thing of like, like, oh, it's too like innocent, or like it's like, it's like that kind of thing, because there's always like, oh, it should be more dramatic and intense, and it's like, but that's a big thing, having to let go of something that was your, you know comforting to you
Yeah.
and that made you happy. And so there was sometimes I would make comments like that, I mean, but like honestly, like, I mean, I've on the productions we've done, like there's been like a male like ADs and stuff like that, but like I've not experienced any like issues with that yet. But I know for sure, like in the animation industry, like I know women in animation, for example, they're trying to like increase the amount of women that are hired in these studios, because right
Yeah.
now it's like more male than women, which I think is a great thing that they're doing for sure. Because like, someone brought up a really good point, like for example, like when you think of like film composers, like you can't really think of any prominent like female composers that come to mind.
Nah.
And I was like, wow, that's so true. And it's like, wow, I didn't think about that, So I know it's definitely present. I just haven't personally experienced that yet.
Gotcha.
So
Well, what type of, I mean, what are like I said, you've done a lot of for your live actions, like coming of age, and the chase was a kind of a whimsical thing. What are the type of stories that you're wanting more to come out of Dual Tail Studios, and what are the type of stories that you enjoy writing as a writer?
I loved I love writing like fantasy type stories. So again, like when I made the two live action films, it was based on, okay, what are my resources? So because I like to usually write fantasy, but if it's a live action, my resources are quite limited. So it was more like a slice of life, quiet, intimate type film told from like a female perspective, and that's what I focus on. While the fantasy stories I would like to tell more of is where they're, for example, like the graphic novel that we're working on, it deals with Japanese mermaid lore. So because it's a it's a cartoon and it's being drawn, I know I can work with an awesome artist, aka Danny, and we can
Yeah.
make this, like come to life. So, with whether it's animation or making a graphic novel, I feel like I have a lot more freedom in telling the stories I really want to tell, which is like fantasy based stories. And eventually I would like to make like a sci-fi
Mm.
like genre story. But for now I'm sticking with like the fantasy of like, mermaids or witches. I really want to explore that because that's something I've always been drawn to, like the witch
Yeah.
aesthetic of things as a kid growing up, and still to this day I just think it's like really cool, and I would just love to tell a story that involves witches.
Oh man, and but then again, and that's part of the reason why I enjoy doing this show is that it connects people. So, like I said, you never know. You build a relationship with people that want to, like, the composer that you got that want to work on a project, whether it be a live sci-fi action. Um, there's people out there that is willing to work on it and really invest in your idea. So, Danny, how would you describe your art style? I mean,
Arts.
yeah, if you had to put a description on it, how would and not
Yeah.
necessarily just for animation, but because, like I said, you do fine art as well, you do graphic design, but how would you kind of label your style?
Well, I would say my personal style is definitely realistic and it has for like my fine arts and not my illustrative side. My
Yeah.
illustrative side is very cutesy, cartoony, like you saw in the chase. That it's totally different from what I actually draw for as a fine artist. So for fine art, I tend to draw a lot well portraits. I like to use charcoal. Okay, with charcoal, the medium is very well, you can really smear the value, especially for hair. I like to make the hair look very ghostly, like the
Hmm.
person's not all there. It also it adds a mystery to it. Um, and So I like to do realistic stuff, and then for my prints making stuff, or like just making digital prints as well, it tends to be in a setting where there's a weird, it's a normal setting, but it's like in a landscape where something's off. There's some weird shadowy figure in the background creeping in, and it's going to and the person's unaware of it. So that's how I would visually describe it. I'm keeping it very general, and and it also it's usually black and white with a splash of color.
Mm, okay, okay. Well, I'm curious for the both of you, what's been the best piece of advice that you've kind of gotten that's kind of served you well along the journey that you're on?
Honestly,
Um,
just like keep creating, I would say, because sometimes like and just like get it down like on paper or like on your
mhm,
computer screen. Like just get it down because I think it's really easy to just get so wrapped up in like this idea you have in your head and you're like, "Oh, I would really like to do this," but then you end up like not like taking action. And
Mm,
so like the best thing to do is just like write it down and like for me since I'm a writer, it's like don't worry about like perfecting the sentence and making it sound like great and like
yeah.
perfect, like just get it
mhm,
down. It's called the first draft for a reason.
mhm,
So then you get it down, and once you get it down, that's when you have something to work with, and so you can take that and you can revise as many
mhm,
times as you would like. So as long as like you just get it down, whether it's on a paper or on your computer, like all right, you're off to a great start because at least it's
mhm,
not just like living in your brain for like ever and like nothing's happening with it. Because
Yeah.
once because you can have the idea, but then also when you put it out there, you're like, huh, this didn't work out as I thought it would. Or you can see like, oh wait, this is actually better than I thought it was. So just get it out there,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
yeah, it's the same thing for drawing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned that because, like I said, I was listening um, uh, to a podcast earlier, and my thought is uh, perf- uh, imperfect something is better than a perfect nothing. And like you were saying, Chantel, we can get caught up in overthinking it so much that we
Oh
do
boy.
this inaction. And as creatives, we can get like that. Wow, it needs to have this or it needs to have that, and just iterate as you go. Do it, which is the approach I take for my show. Because I have this conversation with my friend about,
Mm.
I could have sat and overanalyzed, oh, I need this or I need that, before. And my thought was just do it. You'll perfect it along the way. You'll make changes along the way and you'll iterate it along the way. But you get yourself started doing it for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, exactly. Because like you said, when you first start, you're like, hey, there's always room for improvement. So I think
Mhm.
that's a great piece of advice you shared with us just now.
No, I
Yeah.
think I definitely think if you get inside your head, that's when you're dead. When you start,
Overthinking
You
can lead to like
you go crazy.
paralysis of not doing anything.
come 2 weeks later, you're still staring at a blank page. Oh wow, okay.
Oh
Exactly,
God.
exactly. Uh,
Oh man. So would that be the advice that you would give, say, young girls coming up doing it, to just do it and
yeah.
get moving?
That's yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
don't worry about like don't always worry too much about like what other people say because everyone's gonna have an opinion, honestly. Like because when
Yeah.
I was writing like my earlier scripts, like people were like, "It's so innocent," and it's like,
Mhm.
what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Like so like as long as like if you're proud of the things that you're making, then that's like the most important thing
Yeah.
because it's like if you end up creating not like if you end up like changing things according to like what everyone is telling you what you should do, that's when it's no longer fun and
Yeah.
you start to not like what you're doing anymore. And I kind of fell into that trap once when I was like, because I think there's a limit, because getting feedback is always essential. And if people are telling you like a consistent thing of like this is not working or it's not making sense, then yeah, you should definitely take a look at it and be like, okay, let me revise this. Like, that totally makes
Yeah.
sense. But I mean in the sense of like if someone here and there is like, oh, it's like it's too innocent. What they're saying is that it's not their kind of like story,
It's
or
not
it's
their
not
taste.
something they
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
just something they're not interested in.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, move on from that like one person, just like create like the story. Well, for me it would be story. Create the
Yeah.
story that you needed when you were a kid growing up, or
Yeah.
create the story that you need like right now.
Yeah.
And so that's what I try to do when I write a
Yeah.
story.
Mhm.
Is that the same with you, Danny? Um,
Well, yeah, pretty much. I mean, in my class, for example, especially when the students are learning to draw, it's very easy when you see someone else drawing better than you and you push yourself down. And it's like, oh,
yeah.
I don't, maybe I shouldn't be an artist. And I'm like, maybe I should do something else. I'm like, no, do what you love, first of all. Keep at it. People are always going to judge you, and drawing's a skill, so you have to keep practicing. You can only get better at it. So don't pay attention to what everyone else says, because we all start we all start somewhere. Because when I was little, I mean younger, I was, believe me, I didn't know how to draw. It took me many years to get to where I'm at. So you just gotta keep drawing if it's really your passion.
Yeah. I think that every time I look at ArtStation, I'm like, okay.
No.
I'm like, use it for inspiration because it's so easy. Like I said, it is so easy to, and we're in this kind of compare. The grass is always greener on the other side type of culture.
Mhm.
So it's easy to get discouraged when you see somebody that one you're not thinking they've been doing it for probably longer than you have, so they develop the skill.
Mhm.
But like I said, it is so easy to get yourself discouraged when you're looking at and comparing yourself to what other people do it. And then to your point, Chantel, my thing is you gotta be careful who you ask. The opinion about. If you're asking,
Yeah.
Oh
that's
yeah.
like it's like asking a layperson, how to make $1 million, and they never even seen $1 million. So their advice
Mhm.
is only going to be from their perspective.
Mhm.
And like you said, it just may not be their cup of tea or the
Yeah.
style that they like. So I'm impressed by, like I said, what you've accomplished and what you've done is definitely something that a lot of people should strive for. It's just starting, do it and put it out, and you get better along the way, and your craft gets better. But I loved the chase. It was such, like I
Thank
said,
you.
such a fun.
Thank you.
You both did such an awesome job. The music just blended so well with it. Such a whimsical animation style, and like you said, the moral of it was really crystal clear. Don't judge. You know, don't judge by what
Yeah.
you see necessarily, because it's usually not the case. So I'm excited uh, about the projects that are coming out of Dual Tales and what you've got planned. Super excited, to see the graphic novel. Any kind of preliminary date when it may come out, or do you want to say? Or you just want to say stay tuned?
Well, I mean, I'll say a little bit and you can say a little bit, Danny. So, pretty much like I finished the script a few months ago, even though this was an idea that I came up with. What was it? Do you remember, Danny? Was it like 2019 or so?
No, you were still in grad school. It was like
Yeah,
in
I'm
your
still in
last
grad.
semester. It was originally going to be an animation,
Right.
But
But then I was like, nah, we gotta go
nah,
bigger.
nah.
Because
Well,
originally it was gonna be like a 5-minute animation, but like the story I knew I wanted to tell was like, this is bigger than 5 minutes because
it needs
the
it's
final
much
script,
longer.
yeah, the final script ended up becoming like 48 pages long
Holy
or so.
mackerel.
So I was like, this is the story I want to tell. Nice.
Is it easier for you, or I mean, obviously it's hard when you got a big story, but
Mm.
is it easier to chop it, kind of distill it down into a, a short animated short that say 5 minutes or less, to write
Uh,
for?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think like of course, like 48 pages compared to like 5 minutes of animation, because in a screenplay, one page of a script equals like 60 seconds, 1 minute, right? So it is much easier, of course, to write. I mean, sometimes it is. If you're good at writing a short story, then you understand how the structure works and stuff. The problem was like when I was teaching uh an introductory course of screenwriting at my local university and college, a lot of students struggled with like, how do I tell this 20-page story idea I have into like 5 or 10 minutes? Like, I think for like beginning writers, it's like, how do I compress this idea into like
Yeah.
5 pages? But
Mhm.
yeah, so I think they both present like their challenges, whatever. But like for me, because it is such a long story of like 48 pages, what I had to do was like, I wrote the outline, and so then I cover the basic beats of like what is going to happen in this scene, what comes next. So it was a lot easier to turn to the outline to see clearly, does this scene push the story forward, or do I lose anything if I take it out? Because if you take a scene out and the story still makes sense, then oh, okay, that actually didn't need that. Okay, cool. But then
Didn't
if you
need to
take
be
that
in.
scene out, yeah, but if you take it out and you're like, oh, I'm missing some important like, exposition or whatever here, or a character development moment here, then oh, I got to keep that for sure. So the challenge for me was to really make sure that, it didn't drag anywhere. So it was always having to go back and look at each scene, be like, does this work? Does this not work? And all that. So that was the main challenge there for me.
Well, Danny, visually, I mean, did it work the same way? Because I always find it interesting, like watching, say, like the behind the scenes of an animation, and the artists have this, little post-it notes of basically a comic book style. Is it easier for you to kind of distill down as an artist what scenes you don't necessarily need to illustrate, or what you don't need to illustrate, or that type of thing, or like Chantal was saying, you could take it out and it's really not gonna impact the story as a whole?
I'm sorry. The part of you cut out. I didn't
Oh,
really get you. Can you
no,
repeat
I
that,
was
please?
saying, is it easier as an artist being able to visually look at, the story that Chantel wrote and
Mhm.
cut out scenes that you may not feel or that you can get by without illustrating
Mhm.
or necessarily putting in the animation?
Yeah. Um, for the animation like the chase, I don't think we had much. I don't think there was many issues with that. But I would say for the current story we're working on, the mermaid one,
Yeah.
there are some scenes I'm like, there's something missing. So I add something. And I tell her like, what do you think of this idea? I mean, I draw it down and I add it to the notes. Or if something is written there and it's not flowing visually in my head, or it's not translating and it takes a long time, sometimes I had to draw several scenes out and see, okay, in which order do I put these panels in? And I'm like, not working. And then eventually the next day I'll get it. But yeah, I mean, it's a back and forth thing. It's still, even when it's written down, you still have to go back and forth, and it's a work in progress.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'm super excited. Um, when it comes out, and definitely want to have you back on talking about it for
Ah,
sure.
nice.
Um,
Right, yeah.
because like I said, my thing is really promoting what you're doing and really highlighting it, and so looking forward. Like I said, not only your live action, but like I said, I do feel like you got a lot more animation projects in you guys.
Oh
Like I
yeah,
said.
we love
Yeah.
animation. Like I said,
Yeah.
Duotail Studio started because I went to film school. But like we've always
Yeah.
loved animation. We always loved comic books, and like so,
Cartoons.
yeah. The original thing was to always want to make the comic book, make that graphic novel, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
COVID
just the film
hit.
came first.
Yeah, like COVID hit, and it was like,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
we got time.
We got time now.
So
we got the
yeah.
time.
So we went full throttle, and we made the thing. And even though right now Danny's like paneling out the story right now, I'm still looking at the panels and I'm seeing like, and I give her notes too of like, oh, like I think maybe we could do this instead, or things like that.
Yeah.
So it's like Danny was saying, it's a back and forth process for sure.
Yeah.
And there's always like room for like change or improvement even.
Well, like I said, I'm super super excited to see what comes out of Dual Tail Studio. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
like I told you, if definitely if there's anything that I'm able to do to help support you in it, definitely I'm down for it for sure. And definitely like I said, want to have you both back on again to talk about the show. Like I said, this has been such a great experience for me. Having two sisters, collaborative sisters, and like I said, you both seem to work really well together. I don't know if I could necessarily do that with mine, and I don't know, but
we drive each other insane sometimes. Like we have our moments for sure, but usually we're
well,
like,
and I guess that's another question that I wanted to ask. Personality wise, how do you balance each other out? Because to me, you seem to both, like you said, you're both artistic. You both have got a fun sense of humor. But what are the differences personality wise that you feel kind of balances you both out?
Should I answer this, or you want to answer this, Danny?
I want to hear both.
Sure, I mean, I would definitely say I'm the more quiet one and more reserved. I'm like, even when I go to a convention, I'm the silent fangirl, and she's the loud, crazy one. So
Don't call me crazy. I'm passionate.
Passionate. Sorry, passionate.
Passionate.
So, I meant crazy in a good way.
She's passionate. She's passionate,
all right.
strongly passionate about it.
So we're the same personality. We're the opposite than that. And I cannot make stories at all. I mean, I have ideas, but I love stories, and I love that people can make stories. So she definitely helped me out with that, and I learned from her about the character development and 3D characters, and I'm like, what? And so I do learn from her about it. I'm still learning, obviously, and I think. And then I help you out with the drawing.
Yeah, pretty much. Like what I lack, she has, and then what she lacks, like I have. So like in terms of creativity, like that's how we really balance each other out. And it's kind of like what Daniel was saying. Like when we go to conventions, like for example, when we table in the artist alley at these anime and like video game conventions, not to bring up the hearing thing again, but it's a part of
it's
you.
Awkward again.
I mean, that's totally fine. That's totally cool. But like I know for you, for example, like when we have the table, I know it's really hard for you to like, hear like the first time someone talks to you because you're not used to like their tone,
their manner of talking.
Yeah, their manner of like talking, and sometimes they mumble, and so it's not clear for her of like what they're saying.
I mean, lip read. I can't lip read.
Yeah, so I'm used to being the one where I be like, "Hi, how's it going?" kind of thing. Like
I'd just be like "Hi."
Yeah, so that's how I think. That's how I mean, I think. If you agree, Danny, I think that's like how we balance each other out.
I totally agree with you.
Okay, cool.
Well, hopefully this wasn't too bad for you, Danny.
Oh no, you guys are not. You guys are great.
Like I said, I know it's probably challenging for you. um, to say the least. So I did really try, although I wasn't so conscious of it, I did really try to enunciate so you could see kind of
Yeah, no, no, I appreciate it.
as best I could. But I'm so looking forward to, again, like I said, to having you both on. And one, can't thank you enough. One, first, Chantel, for connecting with me, like I said,
Yeah.
and then kind of bringing, hey, you need to talk to my sister. She said, okay, that's all right. Let me connect me with your sister.
I
So.
got you, Don. I got you.
I got lured in again.
I lured you in again. That's
She-
true.
I don't know if you knew that. Like I said, she said, well, yeah, you need to talk to my sister. Okay, I will.
She told me
Connect
about
me.
it.
Nah. I was like, hey, I met this like awesome guy named Don. Like he does like these talk shows. Like I think we should do it.
Oh
I'm
no.
like, okay, let's go. I'll try.
Oh man. And trust me, like I said, one really, Chantal, I thank you so much for one initially connecting with me on LinkedIn. And introducing me to your sister Dani. Like I said, I so enjoyed your work and not just the animation, the chase. Like I said, I watched some of your live shorts as well.
Oh,
You have
cool.
such talent, and Danny, like I said, have such a unique art style that I love too. So it was just an awesome experience having you both on the show and seeing how you both kind of work together to achieve that one goal. I really enjoy. So I am looking forward to having you back on the show to talk more about, like I said, your graphic novel coming out for sure.
Yeah.
Everybody, I hope as you are tuning in that you've enjoyed this as well. Um, Please make sure that you connect with Danny and Chantel. Um, you can see, let me make sure I get this up. Here's some of their links. They got a lot of links. Uh, you can check. You can check.
Whoops.
Fortunately, all these will be on the show notes as well, so you can definitely catch them out there. But you can check and connect with Chantel. She's on Twitter, Chantel underscore writes. She's on Instagram, Chantel writes. Check out her website. You'll see some more of her scripts, short stories, and check out more of her work there at chantalgabriel.com. Connect with her on LinkedIn, which is where I connected with her at. Chantal Gabriel. You can find her there. Danny is on Instagram, D Gabriel Art. You could also check out more of her artwork, some of her fine art, some of her print work at daniellegabriel.com. Also, make sure you check out their studio, dualtalesstudio.com. They also have an Etsy shop where they sell prints of their work and some of their work. So definitely make sure you check out that shop. Dual Tales Studio. Again, all of these will be on the show notes as well. But they're also on Instagram as well. Dual Tales Studio. You can catch them on Instagram. So it's been my distinct pleasure and honor, Chantel, Danielle. Got that right.
Yeah, no, Don, thank you so much for having us on your show. It's been really fun, and it's also been like really cool to just have my sister on here too. So it was great, and thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to share our work with you and with everyone else that's watching this. We will be posting updates of the comic like on our Instagram. So oh, and you asked for a release date for the graphic novel.
Yes.
We're thinking like 2022. I think that'll be good.
Yeah, and we will be sharing that in the community Facebook group. So, highly recommend that you get connected there. Like I said, We'll not only be sharing industry news, but guest news as well will be shared there. And who knows? They may pop in and do a little live in there as well. So, uh, please, like I said, it's been so much fun. Really has. Like I said, it was a first for me having on two guests, and I so appreciate both of you taking the time out to come on, be a part of the Color of Motion family.
Woo!
Now, um, you you will, like I said, you will be getting your swag stuff when we start to unveil that in the next couple of weeks. So,
Oh, cool.
um,
Nice.
definitely, like I said, that's definitely something that's we're gonna do for our guests to thank them for being a part of the Color Motion family and for thanking them for helping to make the show as good as it is. So I appreciate you so much for both coming on.
Yeah, no, thank you. This has been really awesome and really exciting, honestly. I had a lot of fun. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, same here. I had fun, and I appreciate the conversations we had. And also, this is my first time on a podcast, so it was a great experience. So thank you
Her
for
first,
letting me
her
have that.
first. I am glad to be the first. So much. If you could hang out in the green room for a few minutes while I close out the show, and that way I can thank you, of course, again. But everybody, please help me thank my guests again for being on the show. Thank you, Chantal and Danny. Guys, it's been amazing having them on the show. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed doing it. Like I said, they do such amazing work. All I can say is, wow. That's about all I can say. They do such amazing work, and I'm so looking forward to the projects that are going to be coming out of Dual Tail Studio. Danny is a super talented artist, and Chantel is a super talented script writer. So. And screenwriter, so I can only imagine the future projects that will be coming from them. So, again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in, jumping on the show. The people that tune in live, the ones that catch the replay, everything. I always appreciate everybody that's supports the show and is part of the Color of Motion family. Again, please make sure you, like I said, if you're one of the ones that tends to watch from Facebook and everywhere else, I still always highly suggest go over, join our new community. Like I said, I plan on sharing a lot of industry news, guest updates to what new projects they got coming out. Like I said, starting in August, the show will be broadcast from Facebook from the group. So I definitely want you to be part of the community if you're one of the ones that do tend to watch from Facebook. Again, please make sure you connect with me on all my social channels here. You can find me. Definitely want you to be a part of the community. Want to hear from you. Want to engage with you. Let me know what you might want to see, how you're liking the new look of the show, and just any information and tips that you want to do. I definitely want to hear from you. Like I said, you are able to watch it. We do broadcast from, like I said, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. But if you are one of those ones that do happen to check it out from LinkedIn or Facebook, I do, again, highly always encourage people to go subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you can check out other past great episodes. We've had a lot of great guests on, and trust me, I got a lot of great more already booked out for the rest of the year. So we've got a lot of great episodes coming. And I want to make sure that you don't miss a one. Also, again, like I said, if you are so inclined to support the channel, that is always welcome. Like I said, you can have we have a tip jar set up. Don Terrell 65. You can scan the QR code. It helps me to continue to level up the show, and that is my goal: is to continue to level up that show. So make sure that you tune in next week. Next week is going to be an even more exciting episode. So looking forward to welcoming my guest and friend, Mr. Eddie Chu, founder and character animator with Griffin Animation Academy. He does some awesome animation work, and the students coming out of the school do some awesome animation work as well. So looking forward to sharing his story as well. So I've enjoyed this. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope my guests have enjoyed it. Make sure that you tune in again next week. I look forward to seeing you. Have a great rest of the weekend. Have a great week. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Cheers.